Show with our very special guest star, Mr. Steve Martin.
The Muppets are a group of miscellaneous puppets created by Jim Henson, featured in the well-known program The Muppet Show. The show aired in 1976 after Jim's multiple attempts to get his Muppets shown to a wider audience, as they originally appeared on Sesame Street, a show specifically aimed at children. When the Muppets received their show, they instantly became beloved characters, interacting with celebrities and later acting in various feature films. The Muppets, as a whole, represent a certain strangeness often looked down upon by society. They are an extremely diverse group, ranging from frogs to pigs to chefs, and various whatevers. The majority of their films show them being looked down upon by normal people. They are out of place, irregular to society, and in some terms, queer. But what is queerness? As defined by them, queer originally meant odd, strange, and unusual, with cisgender straight people adopting it as a way to insult and alienate LGBTQ+ people. Queer was then reclaimed by people in this community as a broad label for anyone who identified within this. As written by Jagos in the book Queer Theory, they noted, "In recent years, queer has come to be used differently, sometimes an umbrella term for a coalition of culturally marginal sexual self-identifications. Queerness, since the beginning, has always meant to be different, despite how it has been reclaimed now. Characters like the Muppets can often be safe spaces for queer people due to how they relate to being mistreated by society and feeling like an outcast."
And this tiny speck is you guys.
In his article, The Performance of Nonconformity on The Muppet Show, Schildkraut explored how the puppets display queer traits, writing, "To be a performer is to be a freak, and both those queer roles are regularly celebrated on The Muppet Show. The Muppets are not ashamed to be who they are, despite the judgment they may get from regular people. Queer people find comfort in each other, just like the Muppets within their group." In the blog article, Diversity, Queerness and the Muppets, Place wrote, "The sensibility of the Muppets is more than just multiracial and multicultural. It's queer. To be queer is to subvert heteronormative behavioural expectations, whatever your gender or sexual orientation, and the Muppets do that all the time." When it comes to the Jim Henson Company, they have a strange obsession with male duos and homoerotic undertones.
Why, Beaker, you're hauntingly attractive today.
No duo, however, are as talked about as Bert and Ernie. Bert and Ernie are a beloved duo featured in Sesame Street since the original pilot, Sesame Street being Jim Henson's Muppet show that was aimed at toddlers and younger children, teaching them skills like how to count and behave with friends. They're an iconic pairing, featuring in skits together and gaining popularity due to the warm personality of Ernie and the brooding but caring one of Bert. However, Bert and Ernie also gained a lot of popularity within adult fandoms, with many speculating they are a gay couple. This sort of speculation can be backed up with certain behaviours.
All right. I get the hint. I will get you a glass of water.
Would you do that for me, Bert?
Queer viewers became attached to these characters because not only were they featured in a childhood favourite show of theirs, but they consistently showed it was okay to be who you are. Then, in an interview with Queerty, as written by Simmons in the article Why It Matters That Bert and Ernie Are Gay, which they are, long-term writer of Sesame Street, Mark Saltzman, referred to Bert and Ernie's relationship as that of a loving couple. This was inspiring news for many queer fans. Not only were their speculations true, but they were being represented by a gay writer who was writing his own experiences into the show. People had their confirmation that characters in Sesame Street could be gay, and the company was not afraid to represent this to children. However, this was not long-lasting. On the 18th of September, Sesame Street took to Twitter, now called X, to outright deny that Bert and Ernie were gay. In fact, they even doubled down by saying that Muppets do not have a sexual orientation, as they are puppets. This was then further confirmed by Frank Oz, who tweeted, "It seems Mr. Mark Saltzman was asked if Bert and Ernie are gay. It's fine that he feels they are. They're not, of course. But why that question? Does it really matter? Why the need to define people as only gay? There's much more to a human being than just straightness or gayness. Muppets do not have a sexual orientation, so Bert and Ernie can't be gay. This would be reasonable if straight relationships weren't shown repeatedly in the Muppet franchise. The defense that puppets do not have romantic relations can be disproved. Without this, what do these tweets have to stand on? It shows that even with fans hoping for and supporting a queer relationship, even with a queer writer having intended the puppets to be seen this way, a brand as big as Sesame Street cannot be associated with a lead gay couple. Frank Oz asked an important question in his tweet. Does it really matter? This one question shows the clear divide between queer and straight views, and what heteronormative people are less likely to understand. It does matter. It wouldn't matter to someone who is straight, someone who has lived their life with no fear of who they will love in the future. Gay people on screen could be enough to save and inspire so many queer children who are growing up confused and scared. As said by Cook in A Content Analysis of LGBT Representation on Broadcast and Streaming Television, Queer representation in children's media also matters for education purposes. Exposure to LGBT characters through the media can affect how the general, mostly straight population views the LGBT community and related public policy issues. The people involved with the creation of Bert and Ernie outwardly deny their queerness. One writer speaks for it. So what does this mean for the pair? Are these Muppets representing queerness? On one hand, they aren't. With a clear denial from the creator of Bert himself, Frank Oz, these characters have a barrier stopping them from ever becoming canon. However, are characters truly owned by their creators? This raises the debate of fan ownership. People have been writing fanfiction for years, some even being made into their own pieces of original material. Akpenar and Venestrom wrote in Emotional Ownership in the Fanfiction Community. Producers lose control over the franchise in the sense that they are inevitably forced to accept their work being misused or used in context for which they do not want recognition. This would make sense of Oz's disapproval of a writer telling fans he wrote them to be gay. This goes against Oz's, the creator's, own canon. However, fans can still choose whatever they wish to do with the characters, once they are released to the public eye. What a viewer chooses to believe in their head cannot be changed. Even so, the Muppets can still represent queerness without being officially queer. As defined by Maguire in the article Queerness, it is a refusal to fit into the neat binary categories, exactly what the Muppets are about. This exact refusal to fit into the binary can be seen with Gonzo the Great. Gonzo is a titular character in the Muppet franchise, seen at the beginning of every Muppet Show episode tooting his iconic horn. Caricature describes Gonzo as such. Gonzo wouldn't hurt a fly, perhaps because he knows how it feels to be criticised and ostracised. He often feels as if no one really understands him. These personality traits align directly with Maguire's definition of queerness, alongside the queer feeling of wanting to find belonging. Gonzo is queer in the old-fashioned sense of strange, odd, bizarre, abnormal, and just plain freaky. He embodies queer pride, as written by Garland and Graham in Kermit Culture.
We picked up a weirdo.
But what about Gonzo's behaviour specifically makes him queer? Throughout the years, Gonzo is consistently aligned with those of non-binary and gender-fluid identities. Gonzo is typically paired with the label of whatever. He has no species, no identity. He is simply whatever. Though we see him with this label in The Great Muppet Caper from 1981, there is a comic from 1986 that puts it into a deeper perspective. In the comic, Jim Henson's Muppets, Guy and Brad Gilchrist link Gonzo's identity of whatever, just not with his species, but with gender as well. He's seen walking past the women's and men's restrooms, entering one with his preferred label. Unbeknownst to them, the Gilchrist brothers just confirmed Gonzo's gender non-conforming identity. As noted by Elizabeth in the article Gonzo, A Queer Analysis, the fluidity of his identity has included gender and sexuality from the very beginning. Gonzo has flirted with both men and women on The Muppet Show.
What's it called?
You wonderful you.
Perfect.
Gonzo is whatever he chooses to be, and he doesn't care for what others may say. Though Gonzo has always shown these traits, many argue that he is currently changing. As the main team behind the Muppets has changed throughout the years, they have chosen to embrace the growing society. This is in the form of an educational story for children in Muppet Babies 2018. This infamous episode that sparked plenty of controversy among parents is called Gonzorella, which was released in 2021. A story focusing on Gonzo deciding to wear a dress and the struggle that comes with that. A classic Cinderella story, but with a twist in the message told. Gonzo has always been fluid with his gender, and now his identity can be used to send a positive message to children. However, this was not how the episode was received by some parents and conservatives. Gonzo, to them, was ruined. Why would they take this beloved character and make him transgender? To these people, there is no non-binary or blurring of the lines. To them, this kind of representation
You're our friend, and we love you any way you are.
is harmful.
So this, to me, is a direct attack on children. This is predatorial, in my opinion.
But why? This story is meaningful for children as it shows them, in our changing society, they do not need to fit into a gender binary and can dress how they wish. But even this kind of message is negative for people with these kind of conservative viewpoints. This is why Sesame Street and Frank Oz's responses to Bert and Ernie were so harmful. It does matter. Without this kind of representation in the media, children may grow up thinking simply wanting to wear a dress is wrong and disgusting. With this story being shown to the new generation, there will gradually be more acceptance in our world. The Muppets representing queerness matters so much more than just for adult queer fans. It has always been about teaching children that being strange is okay. Really, the Muppets are whatever you wish for them to be. How you perceive them is your choice. Even if Frank Oz says Bert and Ernie aren't gay, Saltzman said his writing for them was inspired by his queer relationship. Though Gonzo isn't canonically non-binary, his continued presentation of whatever and fluidity with his outfits gives him the exact traits of someone who would identify as such. Whether intended by the creators or not, the Muppets represent queerness. It's exactly as Schildkraut said. They are abnormal, different, weird, and queer. And that fact alone has brought so many people comfort for years.
The dreamers